Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have another fantastic coach with me, Coach Justin Clark. He was gracious enough to come on my lonely little podcast. Nothing too big here. Coach, for anybody that doesn't know who you are, could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Justin Clark. I'm the head football coach at North Gaston High School here in Dallas, North Carolina. This is actually where I grew up, and so it's good to be back home. My coaching stops have kind of brought me into South Carolina, into Georgia, and so it's always good to be able to come back home and be the head coach of where you grew up. And so I'm excited about the opportunity, excited about bringing the culture back and trying to get this thing going in the right direction again.
Yeah, I coached at my high school right away. I was 18, 19. So I did the opposite. I went right back right from the get go, which was awful because then the head coach got fired. So that means I left. I was like, done.
Right.
Now I'm done. Uh, But then I was going to try to become the head coach there, and I was like, I don't want to go back. Some places you don't want to go back to.
Right.
So it's good that you wanted to go back or had the opportunity to go back. So,
Yeah.
um, so I always ask the same question. I'm pretty boring. The same first question to everybody. So how did you get into coaching? Because we have our own path, we have our own way of how we did it. Like I always tell people, I was 15 years old and I knew that's what I was going to do. And some people I've talked to, they were 25 and they figured it out. So, how did you know that you were going to start coaching football?
Oh, well, I grew up, my dad was a high school head football coach, high school head baseball coach. And so that's all I knew growing up. He was actually the head coach here at North Gaston. And I was actually drawing football plays in first grade and in my little notebook and having parent teacher conferences because I'm not doing my schoolwork because I'm sitting here having separate notebooks. I mean, it was crazy. I don't know if my dad was proud or mad, but um, so I always knew football, baseball, and athletics in general was always big for me. And so I knew at an early age, like this is what I wanted to do. It wasn't until I got to college that I really kind of made up my mind that I wanted to be on the high school level more so on the college level. Um, and so my dream, my plan, if the good Lord's willing, is to get back on the college level. But right now we're sitting here trying to build something here at North Gaston, and be where your feet are, and just kind of bloom this program into what it can be.
You mentioned that you traveled a little bit with coaching, like
Right.
like we talked before I hit record. Central Illinois to Chicago is 3 hours. Like I moved 3 hours, and I
Right.
thought that was mind blowing. Like I got to move 3 hours. You
Right.
you moved to different states, so like what's that like? And like what did you learn from that when you came back?
It was really beneficial for me because I mean, like I said, all I knew growing up was my dad, because that's who I watched when I was younger. Then that's who I played for when I was in high school, and then I went to college, and then I got some other coaching experience and coaching philosophies embedded. And then I came back into coaching. My first job was coaching for him,
Mhm.
and so it was play for him, learn from him, go to college, learn from the other coaches, and then right back to the same stuff with my dad. And then we coached together for 5 years, and then I felt like it was time for me to kind of branch out, and kind of learn what I really was about. And so there was a job opening in Atlanta, at a school that I had some connections to. And so I took that job as an offensive coordinator down in Atlanta. That was the first time I was really out on my own and kind of just can establish my own philosophy offensively. And then I went from there to getting married and then coming back into the state of South Carolina. And so it was good for me in that years that I spent away from my dad as far as his philosophy, and then learning from other coaches, And then my last stop was at a school down in Columbia at Ridgeview High School. And so that was another experience because I was working at a predominantly minority school. And to me, that was probably one of the greatest times in my not teaching and coaching career, just because I saw some things that I needed to see, that's going on. And so for me, seeing all these different things was able to really solidify, what I want this program to be, what I want this philosophy to be, and things of that nature. So it was good for me to be able to go out. It was a little scary at times, but it wasn't as bad as I thought because I did have those connections in the different states.
Yeah, this is my 5th high school I'm at. I got hired in the summer. Go figure. It's COVID year. I'm going to pick a different school and during COVID.
Right.
But yours is different. But mine is the same thing. Like the school I was at last year, it was considered low income,
Right.
and that opened my eyes to like what coaches really are. Like they needed me more than I needed to coach, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of the same thing. Like my 5th high school, people are like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "No, something else opened up. You move on. You do something. You learn." And some people only stay at one spot, which is great, but I think you need to learn, communicate, and see different parts of. I mean,
Right.
Chicago is different than the rest of Illinois. Chicago is not Illinois. It's not. It's completely different. But just I coached in the cornfields. Now I coach on a 5 lane roads. Like it was just this big
Right.
thing, and um, but I couldn't move to a different state. Well, I might move to a different state if this continues. I may have to go somewhere that's playing football right now, but I couldn't imagine moving to a different state. 3 hours was enough. Um, so I know you're an offensive guy. I just wanted to ask, like, have you ever coached any defense, or has it always been offense?
No, I've always coached offense. I actually, when I was trying to get my foot back in the door in the college game, the defensive coordinator at Coastal Carolina now, Coach Chad Staggs, he was at Charleston Southern with Chadwell, and there was a GA kind of it was a GA spot. It wasn't a quality control spot, but it was a GA spot for his DBs, and I would work with him. And so I was about to get married, and I couldn't afford to not have a paycheck, and so that would have been my first time ever coaching the defensive side of the ball. But I've always been an offensive guy. Yes, sir.
Isn't it crazy to get in college? You have to do something like that, like a GA. Like,
Oh,
here's eight hundred
100%.
dollars a month, if that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's crazy, but it's the opportunity may arise, come up sometime soon, but that's all a part of the good Lord's plan.
yeah, because I helped out spring ball with Eastern Illinois when Dino Babers was there and Jimmy G was there, and just doing spring ball was tough enough. I was just doing it to do it. Like I was coaching high school, but they let us come and
Right.
help if we wanted, and I was like, I couldn't imagine doing this times 10 for $800 a month or paying for my master's, but then I have to find my own money and do something
Right.
else.
Yeah.
Because I talked to another coach, this is way off topic. We talked about, I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but you see a lot of college coaches get recycled. Like they might get fired, but then they immediately get another job. And they're like, is there not enough young guys? And we were talking about, well, look at the conditions you have to do to get to where they are, and
Right.
times have changed. So people's mindset now is different than what maybe we all, when we were growing up, we might have done it. But like Nick Saban's of the world and this and that, like they had to go through some things. Mike Leach, everybody knows Mike Leach, what he had to go through.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it and said, maybe there's less coaches coming up than we think going into college, because they're like, why go do that when I can go coach high school
Yeah.
and be a teacher or get a regular job and then go coach? They'd rather
Right.
do that than say coach for free, go through the ringer for 5 years, and then hopefully get a job.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it right now. I mean, and that's the thing. My wife is actually she grew up the daughter of a college head coach, and so she kind of understood the business of it. And anytime that I mention, hey, one of my college connections has called me and they may have a spot open, she always tells me, hey, go for it. But the what we're getting paid right now is a little bit more than, what's gonna be offered there. But it's tough at times. And I have a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and so it's got to be a special place for me to take that risk. You know what I mean? Because that's a different lifestyle. That's a different animal. But it's good to have that support at home. But I don't know if I want to put my little girls in that situation right now.
Right. When I coached at Charleston High School, we played a school called Mount Zion. It's in the same town as Millikan University, a Division III school. My third year coaching, I think the head Millikan coach retired or left, took the head job at that high school there, and me and him built a connection. I was going to go coach for him at one point, and I asked him, I said, "So what's so different? Why did you take the high school one?" He goes, "I don't have to worry about my job all the time. I have all this extra time." He didn't know what to do with himself, so he started coaching track. He doesn't have to recruit. He
Right.
didn't have all this. So he went back to high school. And I talked to another coach that did the same thing here in Chicago. He was the head coach at Elmhurst College. Now he's at Lake Zurich. And this is his first time coaching high school ever. He's been college. And he goes, "I make a little more money teaching and coaching high school than I did there." And I said, "You gotta be kidding me." He goes, "No, Division III is rough."
Oh no, yeah, definitely.
And I know that's off
Definitely.
topic. It's just interesting to me how this happens and just meeting these
Oh, I
guys
know.
that did it.
It's funny that you mentioned Milliken. I got one of our inside linebackers that got accepted into Milliken, and so I'm trying to get a hold of something. So if you know anybody up there, shoot, give him my email, because I'm trying to get him somewhere to go play.
Yeah, I know the old head coach, but I have some connections. I'll email people or text people and say, "Hey, who's the coach there?" and this and that. I
Okay.
can figure it out. What a small world. Yeah, that's funny. Good thing I brought that up. See, my
Yeah.
ADD kicking in is good sometimes.
There you go.
Um, so I know I've watched some of your stuff with Coach Mackey from way before. I watched Coach Mackey stuff. He's a great guy. I watch all the time. So I know you're a run and shoot guy, but I know you've combined it a little bit. Do you still do the
Right.
run and shoot stuff? Do you still do all that? Has anything changed from 2 years ago when I watched all that stuff?
We don't go. Very seldom do we really have post snap conversions anymore. Um, we kind of bastardized it, if that's the correct term, enough to where we can manipulate what the run and shoot is, based off of what we do in our series based pass game. And so for me, and actually I had this conversation with our receiver coach. I got him from NC State. He's a student assistant at NC State. And so I was thinking about going back full, like 100% on board with the run and shoot and doing all this type of stuff. And we had the conversation with it. I love it. I'm a fan of it. I think it's the best offense that was ever created. But you do have to have, it's an all-in mentality. It's kind of like the triple option. Either you're going to marry the triple option, or you're going to, or you can't be successful with it. And so right now, as a first year head coach who's coming from a triple option system for the last probably 8 to 10 years, and our quarterbacks not necessarily having a lot of pass game knowledge, I just felt like it wasn't the right time to go 100% into the run and shoot, just because mentally I don't think those guys could handle it. Now ask me in the next 2 or 3 years, and the system may go back to full 100% run and shoot. But right now, what we do have, based off of our 2x2 game, we have 4 base ways to run our base concepts. And so we have a 10 series, a 30 series, a 50, 70, and a 90. So that actually we got 5 ways to run our base concept. And so we can manipulate whatever we want to the concept side and have a different series based concept on the backside.
So you're going to so it's basically just a simpler version of the run and shoot is what you're trying to do. It's just
so,
like,
yeah, definitely. So let's just say in run and shoot, you have 90 streak. Okay. So on 90 streak, you have on the play side, you have the outside vertical route. The inside slot has an inside seam with a hot break as a little flat route if it's cover zero. On the backside, number 2 will have the seam read, and then on the outside, number 1 will have it will execute the up route. Okay, so now how can we manipulate the backside of that seam read progression? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so now for us, what can we do to simulate that portion of the route? Okay, and so what we've come up with is like our 10 series. We just have basic vertical concept on the backside. Okay, our 30 series is a level series on the backside. Our 70 series is what we call our rail series, which is switch post and then the wheel read on the outside. So now that simulates now the switch on the backside with the post coming across. Our 50 series is just basic mirrored concept, and then our 90 series is just old school Steve Spurrier mills. And so the biggest thing for us is if we're gonna call a one high concept or a zone concept to our play side, the backside combination, now we can make it either a man or a middle field, open or middle field closed concept. And so that's how we started attacking it, is just creating it in that manner, which for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had really good success with it. We hadn't had a quarterback shoot since I think maybe since 2011 that hadn't thrown for at least 22 or 2,300 yards in a season. And then on top of that, I grew up so much around my dad. I still believe that you have to run the football to win. And so the run game for us is very important. So it's not, one year we can look like a team that throws the ball all over the yard, but we're actually more balanced than people think. And that's what kind of sets our system up and my system up more so than a true run and shoot is there's a more heavier run emphasis in our scheme.
So what run plays do you add? Do you have like zone, trap, all that?
Well,
this
year we're going to be more of a tight zone, midline trap type team. That's kind of what we're going to be going with us. We'll put we'll run some pin and pull stuff. We'll run some outside stretch type concepts. We'll run dart just to keep them honest, but our backbone will be really kind of some tight zone, midline off the tight zone. Our trap schemes will kind of keep them honest with it, and then we'll have a little option package, just because they've ran the option for so long. We got to be able to do what they have done, and so I think it's going to be fun to be able to kind of put this system together. This season.
Yeah, I got hired as run game coordinator, so I have to put in all these. We only have 3 run plays right now, but it's funny, we're running ISO, which is the old school belly. We're just running ISO, but that's my inside zone, just not blocking the end. So I put on Twitter the other day. I put up a picture just because I wanted to know. People always said it was duo, and I put up a picture of it, and I said, "Is this your guys' inside zone or duo?" It's my inside zone. Oh, I shouldn't have put that up there. People were coming out of the woodwork. And I didn't have the running back drawn up right. They're like, well, since you have it drawn up this way, it's called this. And I'm like, it was just huddle. I was just drawing. Like, that's my little rant. I was like, I called inside zone, but it's really duo. But I called inside zone because I want double teams. I want that as kind of like you said, tight as possible, and we can bang it out or something. I want it to be right up the middle, out, because I'm an old offensive lineman. I want to do that instead.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to be technical with what we do, I guess what you really can call our tight zone is really a Zier scheme. It's really a zone scheme off of Veer. Because we'll probably be 90 to 95% pistol. And so it's going to be 100-meter dash with our super back, straight up the middle. And so for us, that's what really will kind of simulate is more of a Zier scheme than anything else.
Yeah, I loved when I was OC, I loved trap out of pistol. I don't know why. It worked beautifully. Trap out
Yeah.
of pistol. Um, People that are under center teams give me crap for it. Like pistol trap, what are you talking about? It has to be under center trap as quick as possible. And I said it was quick as possible. We
Yeah.
were just a spread team. I would just call pistol and we just went with it. And I'm always wrong. I can't do anything and be right. I'm always going to be wrong. But
Oh, there ain't there's get used to it, bud.
oh, I'm used to it. It was just funny. I put things up like that. Like I just want to know what you guys think. I want to learn, and it turns
Right.
into something else.
Oh yeah.
And I said, this is why Twitter's supposed to be a good thing. Now it's a bad thing all of a sudden. And
Right.
like what
Right.
we're doing right now, this is the good side. What I did the other day, I guess, was bad. I guess I'm not supposed to put up an offensive play and figure out what it is. Uh, I heard somebody say, put up the wrong thing to learn the right thing. You're going to get crapped on, but you'll learn the right thing if you put up the wrong thing on purpose.
Oh yeah, 100% on that now. Yes, for sure. And yeah, I know.
So some of my run and shoot questions might be dumb, so you need to educate me. I'm not 100% on the run and shoot stuff.
Right.
What is so different between that and like air raid? Because to me, I understand air raid way better than I do run and shoot. I've tried to look up run and shoot stuff. I try to watch things. Air raid just seems more simpler to me, if that's the right way to put it.
Yeah.
From the pass game perspective. So is that the difference? Like air raid is just simpler, or am I just
Uh,
way off on that?
for me, um, you have some post snap conversions in the air raid, but uh, it may be 2 options, 3 options max. In the run and shoot, you have your primary breaks, and then you have your secondary breaks off of that. And so it can get really exhaustive as far as what the defense and what the leverage does. I personally think when the air raid and kind of all the Tony Franklin guys, when that was really hot, they were saying find grass, attack grass. That is just run and shoot. I mean, if you really want to look at it, that's the simplicity of the run and shoot. If I'm covered here, I'm going to go there. And so I think people are scared when they see the run and shoot, because it is, we have to be on the same page every single play. But that's the beauty of the system. Once everybody gets dialed in, for me, it was actually the easiest offense to play in and to learn as a quarterback. Because all I had to do was just go through my progressions, and the receivers had to be on the right page. Like if the receivers did what they supposed to do, I know where I need to throw the football. To me, that's the biggest issue, is just making sure that connection is the right one. And so for a quarterback, for me, I learned more offense and more pass coverage structures as a run and shoot guy than I was as a West Coast guy or anything else. And so for me, that's the beauty of it. It's just more of, I think in a simplified version, the air raid is a Cliff Note version. The run and shoot is the thesis.
I think,
If you want to kind of break it down in that manner.
yeah, I'm going by like when I was younger and I was researching offenses, I would see the run and shoot. And I think what scares coaches like me a little bit, not now that I'm older, maybe not so much, but back then, oh, you have to teach them how to read this. And that's a lot of teaching, I think. And I could be
Right.
wrong. In the air raid, you're still teaching, but it's not as much. Like if you call
Right.
mesh, but you just tag one guy, you're not,
Yeah.
it's the same. Run and shoot, it just seems like, well, if this guy squats, you do this. If he does this, you do, like, I know I'm being
Yeah.
dumb about it, but if he does this, you do this. And I think that scares coaches of like, how much time do I put in? Well, if the kids can't pick it up and they get frustrated and they don't want to do it no more.
And then you scrap it.
Right.
You have to. It's very front loaded information, and this is what I tell people about the run and shoot. It's very front loaded. It's very front heavy, front loaded. And then once you get it, then you have to be able, a lot of coaches get into business because they like control.
Mhm.
Um, and when you're a run and shoot guy, you really don't have a lot of control, um, when you call. So it's not like you have, okay, I'm gonna run this specific play versus cover two. I always have this particular route in the bank. Um, every route in the run and shoot can beat any pass coverage, any pass structure, and so, um, that's the great thing about it. But at the same time, that's kind of the scary part about it too, as a coach, because now you're leaving it, especially on the high school level, you're leaving it up to really on, especially on the JV, you got 13, 14-year-old kids. Maybe if you're lucky, you got an old head at 15.
Mhm.
Um, you got some 13, 14-year-olds that you're trying to say, okay, if this corner, is inside leverage and he's soft on you, you need to run a bench route. If he's soft and he's outside leverage, you need to run your skinny post. I mean, so that to me, that's the biggest issue, is the control factor of it. um but to me, that was the thing that was so fun about coaching it, is now you're teaching the kids how to get open. I mean, that naturally kids know how to get open, they just don't do it on a consistent basis to where you can generate an offense around it. And the run and shoot has done that. It's proven that you can do that. And so for me, it's just, how much control do you really want to have, and how much trust do you want to place on your high school athlete.
Right. And then how much time are you willing to dedicate to them drawing it up, going at film,
Right.
doing this? How much time do you really want to do that? I've been around coaches that don't watch film on Saturdays. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to win. Like, just depends how much time you really want to invest in something like that.
Right.
Um, and it's kind of like six in the air raid because they do the same thing. It's reading things. And so you're just doing it all the time with run and shoot. It seems, I know it's not six, but I'm trying to, anybody that listens that runs air raid, it's kind of like if you look at Mike Leach's six, they do whatever.
Yeah.
They're reading the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, look at Mike or Texas Tech when they beat Texas. They threw it to the bench type of route because that's what
Right.
he was doing. He threw it to the opposite shoulder.
Well, and when you look at it, the air raid has stick, run and shoot has go.
Hmm.
Air raid has mesh, the run and shoot has streak. And so there's just some things that in a 3x1, the air raid has the cross series, run and shoot has choice. And so when you really look at it, they're doing the same thing, but they're just doing it in a different way and getting the same results.
Right.
You know,
So with the run and shoot, and this might be a stupid question. So with the air raid, you have concepts. So it's like you call mesh, and this is the play. It's a play. For you
right?
guys, can you call if you're in a 2x2? You call one thing here. You can control what you call on the backside too, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Because
yes,
when I was OC, the head coach had me do okay. I want like if we wanted to run hitch slants and we were 2x2, I'd signal in hitches and slants. Read it like a
right,
book from left to right. If I wanted um like a post on the backside, but I wanted smash, I'd call smash post or something. I could
right,
control each side. Then when I got to another school, we ran air raid concepts. So like Michigan was mesh. So it was just mesh. There
right,
was no like, let's run like you couldn't call Michigan Texas A&M or something, if that makes sense. Like you
right.
couldn't call two different things. So with the run and shoot, it seems like you can control whatever you want on each side.
Yes, definitely, especially in 2x2, you can. Um, there's some things, not to oversimplify it, but when you look at it, 90-14, 90-15, is based off of the street concept. But when you look at it from just a offensive playbook scheme wise, it looks very similar to Hoss.
Hmm.
And so you can do a lot of different things with that. And then that's kind of the beauty in what we have done, or what I have done when we kind of bastardize what the run and shoot is. Um, I think that for a high school kid, this system may work a little bit better going forward, and then slowly getting them into the run and shoot.
Hmm.
Uh, because now, you take all that type of stuff away and you run Hoss to the play side concept, and then I can tag whatever I want to on the backside. It could be four vert, it could be our rails, it could be levels, it could be mirrored Hoss, it could be mills. So we can tag based off the concept that we call whatever we want to control on that backside.
Which I love doing that because you dictate what, like, they're trying to dictate what you're doing, but it's like, guess what? I'm going to do this. You like,
Right.
that's the flaw, I think. Not flaw in air raid, but it's like you can only do mesh so many times. You can only do this so much, and they can see it and practice and run and shoot. You might always call this with this, and then all of a sudden you're going to switch it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're all of a sudden going to do something different because they're trying to do something. Well, I have an answer. I'm going to do this.
Right. Yes, sir.
With air raid, the only things I've seen are like somebody might run. I think it might have been Coach Taylor. I've seen this. I might have stolen it. I have no idea. Where he runs cross, but he has smash on the other side where you have to pick.
Yeah.
So he's dictated now. So I think some can do it, but I think run and shoot's more tempted, or that seems normal to do that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm stupid, so I'm trying to figure out everything that's going on. So if you had your way of like the traditional run and shoot, how do you install the run and shoot? Because I know air raid and other things have 3 days. I just talked to some veer coaches. They have like 5 days. Like it takes a long time
Right.
for like veer teams to do that. So for a run and shoot, what's an install look like for something like that?
For me, day one, I would put in streak, and I would put in our 3x1 go. And then day two, I would put in delay or smash, hook, however you want to call it. I would put in smash, and then I would put in choice. And then day three, I would work the switch calls off of day one. And then day four, I would work the switch calls off of day two. And so really it's a 2-day install, but it's over a period of 4 or 5 days. And so for us, that's to me, that's the easiest way of thinking is we're going to run streak, and we're going to run how to understand how to run streak. Off of streak, you can build in 90-14, 90-15, which is essentially Hoss. You can tag 90-10, 90-11, which is slants. And so you can kind of tag it off of that. And so for us, get really good at streak as the base concept and then build it off of that. And then your 3x1 package that day would be go. Then the next day, your 2x2 package would be, smash, hook, delay, however you want to call that language. I've seen it called multiple things. And then your 3x1 would be choice. And so then day three, okay, now let's work the switch calls off of day one. And so now let's run 90 streak switch, 90 switch. And so now you can work all those types of tags and attacking it a little bit in a different manner. And then, pick one screen a day to get good at, pick, what's your run that you want to get good at for that day. And then that's your install. For us, we're going to have 2 quicks. We're going to have 2 drops, two drop back. We'll have 1 screen and 1 run every day. And so that's it. I've taken that type of mentality and continued to do it with our install. And so that's how I would do it as a run and shoot guy. Now you may ask Coach Mackey what would be his number 1 install, and it may be different. But for me, I think as a 2x2, because I want to stretch the field a little bit vertically, and then our RPO game would kind of control the quick game and intermediate game. I would start it with streak and go, and then the next day I would put in smash and choice.
Yeah, I think when coaches hear that, they freak out like that's a lot or this or that. But realistically, you're stealing reps with some of those. Yeah. You're stealing a lot of reps. So for coaches, I might be scared to do that. Like, how would you rep choice routes and how to read a defender? Like, what's the best way for you? Do you immediately do it on air, or do you immediately just say, no, we're going to have bodies? That's the best way to go about it. Don't do the air stuff. It has to be against bodies.
No, we would do it on air. And when I first started doing it, I was probably 09 and 10. When we did it, when I started our quarterbacks doing it on air, and he had to read the receiver's body language. And so the quarterback didn't do anything. The receiver was told, "Hey, you're going to run the glance. You're going to run the skinny post." So the quarterback had to read the body language of the receiver, and then it went from there to defender, then from there to whole concept. So it was a lot of routes on air, a lot of individual work, and then that's how we kind of did it. Every day in the run and shoot, you're going to work seam read drill, just because the seam read is so important in the run and shoot. Every day you're going to work that, and every receiver needs to understand how to run the seam read. Then the next day you're going to run choice. And so for me and how we use formations, every receiver needs to run choice. It's not just our outside guys. And so that day, will be run heavy and how to run the choice route. And then we call it the choice drill, to where you have 3x1. It simulates routes on air. You have the concept side to the trips, you have the choice to the single receiver. And you have 4 quarterbacks slinging it all at the same time, going through the progression. So it looks like air raid routes on air. And so you got streak drill, which is basically your seam read drill. And so the practice kind of simulates what people are familiar with the air raid. But that's how we would do it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think you're making coaches feel better. They're like, "Oh, that makes sense." Because I know when I was younger and first saw anything like that, I was like, "Nope, that seems
Right.
like it's." But then you look at defenses. I coach defense a little bit. The blue mix coverages, that's even harder in my opinion. Like if he does, like I don't even get me started. Like, but it seems like the run and shoot can combat all the quarters coverage and the mix coverages, because the receiver can read what they're doing and figure out, I'm going to go find open grass and get open.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. Like, people always ask me, what hurts you the most? Uh, I want people to press us up and play man and blitzes. Like, if we start seeing a team that blitzes us, we're getting really happy on the sideline, because we make you make one miss and it's going to be an explosive play. What we have struggled actually, is just really really coached vanilla zone defense that just do what they do. They're in their spots, and they're good at what they do, and let you drive from the 20 to the 20. And then once it gets into the red zone, it's so constricted that they're going to force the quarterback to make a perfect throw. And so that's really what's kind of hurt us the most, is just really good, tall, disciplined zone defense.
Yeah, like some teams talked about that. Like, what defense hurts you? The one that plays harder, like the one
Right.
that's trying harder. Like if we don't run good routes and we don't do what we do, that's what beats us.
Yeah.
And like it's Jimmy's and Joe's and not X's and O's. But sometimes when you got both, you can't do nothing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And I think we've both probably been on that. I've been on teams that had both, and I've been on teams that haven't, and we've gotten our butts kicked from the teams that have. And there's just
Right.
nothing you can do. Like the team I was on a couple years ago, we went 10-1. Everybody knows East St. Louis football team. We saw them the second round of the playoffs. Their corner, I'm 6'5". Me in the corner, their corner looked eye to eye to each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, this is not going to go well. And they brought 6 or 7 every play because they could. What are you going to do? We couldn't do nothing. I mean, when their corners are 6'5" and their nose guard looked like Dwayne Johnson, there was nothing we could do.
Yeah, we. I was joking around. I had a sophomore quarterback where I was at last year, and I was joking around with him because we had a really good defense. Like, every one of our DBs went on to play college football, and so we was at a 7-on-7 at the University of South Carolina, and they had a team from Miami. It wasn't Miami Northwestern. I can't remember who it was out of Miami. No, matter of fact, I think it was Miami Northwestern. They came in, and I mean they would just ran us. I mean, they ran us off the field. And that second series, my quarterback came to me and said, "Coach, you lied to me, because this defense is a whole lot better than our defense." So it's it's fun to see when you have those studs on that side of the ball, and then they're disciplined on top of that. It's fun to watch a good defense like that.
Yeah, it sucks when you're on the other side and they have a good defense, but if you're losing by enough and nobody wants to hear this conversation's on the headset, we're
Oh,
talking like, oh, did you see that kid? Like,
yeah,
you're all of a sudden watching them and you're like, wait a minute, we got to do this. But you're on the headset, like normal people that don't coach. Someone needs to write a book about headset conversations or a podcast about headset conversations, because that would
oh,
be
100%.
uh
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I think that my next project is to write an excuse book. uh just create a list of excuses, and chapter 1, this is this family of excuses, and then chapter 2, this is this family of excuses. I think that would be a bestseller.
Oh, you might be able to retire off of that one. Everybody would get that and
Yeah,
retire.
definitely.
Um, Now correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like a week ago. I started to try to find run and shoot stuff again. You can't find a lot of stuff on it on the internet, and I don't know if I'm
No.
just looking in the wrong spot. So how? Why is that? Is there a special handshake, a special card you got to have in your wallet? Is there?
Yeah, I think it's very when the run and shoot came out, it was it really it wasn't liked in a lot of places.
Mhm.
And then when they had success, they really didn't like it. And then when it started going away and people started defenses started really kind of not catching up to them, but slowing it down, it was a perfect excuse for the media to really kind of badmouth run and shoot. I really think that I think if you ask Mouse Davis, that may have been the worst decision of getting an offensive like tagged, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, oh, this is the run and shoot. Oh, here comes these guys. Because it's one of the greatest systems that was ever created. But I think that goes into it to where those run and shoot guys. No, hold on, baby, go over and sit down. I think the old run and shoot guys really cut their teeth on, hey, this is who we are. We're going to protect the brand. We're going to be loyal to one another, and really held on to it tight. And that's why I'm so excited about the run and shoot certification, because
Mhm.
this is kind of the first time that Coach Jones has ever spoke out. I think I think Coach Davis did one maybe in 2004, 2005 when he was at Hawaii, but that's kind of the last really clinic on the run and shoot. And so I'm excited to go in. I'm saving up some money to go get my certification. And kind of get on board with those guys. But I think that has a lot to do with it. It was they got so attacked in the media that it became, okay, it's us against the world mentality, and it was only a select few that really understood it, and the ones that understood it realized that, hey, I need to keep my mouth shut, and I'm gonna hold it close to the vest.
Yeah. Because you can find everything else but that. You have to research for a long time to find that. And
Right.
I made that joke to somebody, I think another coach. I was like, I need to get that secret card just to ask somebody about anything, because you can't find it. But I also think it might be, I said football's kind of going back.
Right.
So like you're seeing more run stuff, like wing T stuff coming back. I think people are starting to, oh, look at this run because of the defenses. Let's look at the run shoot stuff. How are they able to read this? Like, I think it's slowly going back. And I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth. Maybe that's why
Yeah,
people are
I know. I
talking
do
more.
agree.
People are talking about it more. So why not give that knowledge out now? Like, oh, now you want to know.
Right.
So now you're going to learn. And
Yeah.
I'm glad something like that's coming out, because he could have been like, oh, now you want to know? Too bad. Like, go figure it out. But
Right.
um, that might be
Yeah.
a Christmas
No,
present. I might ask that
I
for
really do
Christmas.
think that. Oh, it's gonna be everybody that I have talked with and spoke with so far. They enjoy it. They enjoy it. I'll be honest with you. One of the main reasons why I'm going to get the certification is I want to understand. Like one of the chapters is game planning, practice scheduling, like stuff like that. I want to know how Coach Jones and Mouse Davis really broke down game planning, because to me that intrigues me more so than what the offense is. It's just learning how they think and how they organize their stuff. And so to me that's worth the certification in of itself.
And I think it could have been because you were seeing in the XFL when it was going on, like you were seeing it there, and I think that's kind of where people started to talk about it once
All
again.
right.
Because I remember watching on
Yeah.
TV and people are tweeting about it, like, "Oh, look at this! Look at this! Oh, that's the run and shoot, or that's air raid mixed with run and shoot." And then people are like, "Well, what's that?" Or researching it. Now I think that's kind of why of it's going back. And now when XFL
Yeah.
does come back, you're going to see it again. I guarantee it. And so
Oh
now
yeah, definitely.
and high
Definitely.
school coaches, what do? We find something that's sexy and we bring it in. Like it's what we do.
Right.
Like Gus Malzahn's at Auburn. That's an offense every high school coach wants to run for the past couple of years. And then it was air raid stuff. Now you're going back. Now we're going backwards.
I'm sorry.
No, you're all fine. No, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. I promise. Because we can start wrapping up, taking a lot of your time, and you got a family and all that good stuff. So to wrap it up, so I guess two more things. So who do you research in the off season? Like when you're we've been on off season for a long time. So like who do you talk to? Who do you watch or research
Right.
to like pick up on little nuggets for your team?
Um, when I took this job, um, I'm a big offensive line split guy. I'm a huge split guy. And I spoke with Coach Matt Sakis because he uses the big splits. I started watching some of Coach DeMayo stuff when he was at Charleston, running his kind of spread option type stuff out of it. And then I saw Centennial out in California, who is 100% spread pistol, three almost to 5 foot splits. And I saw it and fell in love with it. And so I reached out to Coach Logan, who's their head coach, and said, Coach, I'm a head coach in North Carolina. I just took a job. Would you mind sharing some film so I can do some film study? And he was gracious enough to send me some stuff to study. And so really that aspect of the run game has helped us implement what we do now this year. And I'm really excited to see what it will do with stuff on this side of the coast. I mean, Centennial has been a powerhouse for almost 10 to 15 years. And so I'm excited to see what our guys can do with it.
Yeah, it's funny when people hear run and shoot.
On top of that.
Oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
On top of that, with our pass game stuff, it's just kind of making sure that I'm always going to research run and shoot. And so just making sure that what we do schematically kind of still fits that mold, and we're not bastardizing it too much to where it's kind of unrecognizable, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, that's the biggest thing in the off season is just, doing some self scout to say, hey, we're getting too far away from who we really are. And so that's the biggest thing for us in the pass game is just doing a lot of self scout afterwards, just to make sure we're still doing what we want to do schematically.
Yeah, I was just saying it was funny when people hear run and shoot, they don't think of the run part, they think of the pass. They think it's just all pass. And I'm like, no, they run the ball too.
Right.
Like, don't forget that. The name is in it.
Oh
like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think that they've ever had a running back that hadn't rushed for 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've always had 1,000-yard rusher. People don't want to recognize that part of their scheme, but they're going to pass the football to set up the run, and a lot of people don't want to buy into that philosophy, and a lot of people don't want to see on a 3rd and 1 that they run a little flat route off a go and throw it to the flat, and so it takes not only a high school program buy-in, but actually, in all actuality, I think it really correlates to your community buy-in with it as well. Because it's a different way to play football. Our our guys right now for the last 8 to 12 years have seen nothing but triple option, and so they're used to third and one. They're going to run they're going to run dive. They're going to run some type of wedge type scheme to see if they can get the first down. This year we may throw a screen, a fast screen on third and one, and so it's a community buy-in with it, and I think that scares a lot of people off at the same time too.
Yeah, it's people don't think you have to sell it to the community too. Like some people want the option, some people want you in spread, and whatever you do, you have to
Right,
sell it. And if you're confident and excited about what you're doing, you can sell it. Um, and it'll work. We're trying to do the
right,
same thing. Like we're going to be a spread team, but we're a spread power run, and we got to set like they've always been spread, but we're going to run the ball more this year. And me being the offensive line coach, I'm
right.
fine with that. I'm like, yep, let's go for it. I'm fine with running power over and over. Um, so I can wrap up. When you took over, culture building, you got to build a culture up. So what was your plan to build up the culture, and then how did you have to adapt what you were doing due to COVID? Like COVID changed everything. So I'm just curious how people adapted what they were doing.
Um, I I think, I mean, to be honest with you, it's kind of been a blessing for us because really that's all we have been doing is really branding our program, reaching out with some community stuff as much as we can, and then our fundraising has been really successful during the pandemic year. It has been really good, and so for us, it's just kind of branding what we do, and then reaching out to our community base, and getting that support back. It's been fun to sit back and do that. We had a locker room project, and what I've done is do a letter campaign. And so, for example, I wore number 7 here at North Gaston, um, and so any player that has worn number 7, they can write a letter to that particular number. It's not to the player. It's like, dear number 7, this is Justin Clark. This is what number 7 in North Gaston football meant to me, and then I'm going to put it in their locker. And so for us, you may have 6 or 7 letters in one locker, and so they have to see that when they go into their lockers every single day. I'm gonna frame it, hang it in their locker. And so every day they're starting to see the culture that was successful come back. And then I started selling our jerseys. We saw a lot of just old jerseys just laying around in some cardboard boxes, and so we sold some jerseys and made some pretty good money off of that. When I took this job, we had $755 in the football account. As of probably 2 weeks ago, we were able to raise. We're up to $43,000 that we raised so far.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of stuff that we have done during the pandemic that I'm really proud of the staff and these kids. They've really bought into it to change the culture. We've got a new uniform sponsor. I know we follow each other on social media and Twitter, but we're a Phenom school. And so they're exploding right now. And so I kind of joke with everybody around here, y'all better get on this wave. I mean, they're doing a tremendous job. We're branding our program. This is who we're going to be. This is what we're about. Our kids come in, they have their own book bag. We're getting free gloves. They don't have to worry about going and buying gloves. They're getting cleats and all this type of stuff. And so what I told our staff and what I told the administration is I'm going to do everything possible to make football self-sufficient. And then 2, model as close as I can to a collegiate program.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of our biggest thing is people are starting to see it. They're starting to buy into it. We're actually, when we come back in January, we're going to start our mental health program. We actually partnered up with a psychologist here in town, and they're going to come in and do a once a week kind of 12-week class of teaching coping skills and what it looks like to be a leader, what it looks like to be able to handle stress and things of that nature. So our mental health program has been really good. We started, oh shoot, I'm trying to think what else that we did community-wide. We did a community necessity cabinet. And so we have in my classroom, we have a cabinet just filled with snacks, razors, toothbrushes, toothpaste. And so it's, come and get it. It's don't ask, don't tell. Hey, coach, can I come and get something out your room? Go get whatever you need. I don't care if it's a drink. I don't care if it's soap, whatever you need, go get it. And so the teachers are starting to see it and kind of buy in with it. And so it's been a fun process. It's been a challenging process, but it's been fun with it.
I really like the mental stuff. I think a lot of people need to do that now with being locked down, being inside a lot, not having sports. That's a great idea. I'm stealing that. Like, I need to go tell my head coach that. That's a great idea to get in.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm excited about it. And one of the big things for me, I saw a lot of stress with our players. To almost in tears. Like I have a kid that has a 4.25. Called me maybe a week and a half ago, just stressed out, crying because of all this online learning. And coach, I have 12 to 15 assignments and I'm getting behind and I don't know how to do it, and so I'm excited with it. I really am. But yeah, still it, and let me know how y'all implement it. And because we're going to see if we can get this grant funded and start getting some grants with it as well.
I think you're going to start seeing things like that, and they're going to accept it or approve it because of what's going on. Like that's the big thing right now.
And so, and the big thing with us is, coaches, when you hear it at clinics, coaches always say that, football is 90% mental, 10% physical. And so if we really want to say it and we really want to believe that this game is 90% mental, then what are we doing in our mental aspect of our program to help our kids?
Right.
And this kind of pandemic has really made me sit back and say, what are we really doing to help our kids' mental health status? And I'm excited to get involved with it and see what they do. One of the psychologists, she actually played college ball. She's a professor at the University of South Carolina. And so I'm really excited about it. I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, anybody that listens, I don't know how people listen. Whoever does needs to steal that because we need it. And like this for me is therapy, so I'm fine. But the kids need something else. Like they need that real bad right now, and that's what scares me to death about remote learning and being locked down and not be able to go to play. You can only play Xbox and PS5 so long before something happens.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, that's all I had. I really appreciate you taking time to do this. It's been great. I learned a few things, so I really appreciate you.
Oh shoot! Thank you for letting me be on. It was a pleasure.
Everybody out there that listens, stay safe, wear your mask so we can get back to normal at some point, hopefully. And I'll see you guys next time.